It's an honor and privilege for me to come and share you today with the message today. I think the message today is pretty much simple. It was inspired by one of my nephew. He was still young at the time. I think he was 5 or so. So he had never been to the village before. So I picked him up to go and visit his grandmom. So we went in there. So he came in there. He started asking a lot of questions because the environment is completely different. And he challenged me quite a lot. The question that he asked me was, Uncle, where does the mangoes come from? And then I said, no, they're coming from the tree. He made a big argument. He said, no, they're coming from the fridge. We went on and on and on, and then I opened the fridge, and it's like, no, there is no mango in the fridge. It's like, yeah, but if there is no mango in the trees, in the fridge, then they're coming from the shop. I was like, no, they're coming from the tree. And I had to take him through the process. And what I'm going to share with you today, it's about some of those basic information that we think it's basic, but it's not necessarily basic. What I'm going to do today is to share with you the valuable lessons that I learned through the mango tree that he showed me. If you study the creation in Genesis 1 and 2, you will realize that God gave man 4 commandments. The first one was for the man to reign, which is to lead. The second one was to be fruitful, which is to produce fruits in any way, which is to add value. The third one was to multiply, and the fourth one was to work. So in terms of the context of the creation, almost most of the things were revolving around agriculture. So this message fits in there because at that particular time, it used to be agriculture. So in-depth study of the creation reveals that everything that God created, He created it for a specific reason. Everything is interdependent to each other. Everything that is created, it's recognized by what it brings to the society. I'll give an example. A soil is there because the trees need the soil. Without the soil, we won't have trees. The birds need air to be able to fly. Without air, birds will not be able to function. Fish needs water to be able to swim. If you remove fish from water, it dies. Animal needs grass, which needs water. So without grass, some of the animals will die. Some animals eat meat, which relies on the other animals. So whichever way that it is, each and everything serves one another. The same applies to humankind. We as humans were created by God, and one of the most important things is He created us so much in such a way that we have to depend on each other. If you pick an example, if you get sick, you go to the doctor. And if you don't go to the doctor, you can get healed naturally through a natural process, but it might take longer. If you are going to buy a grocery, you need someone at the till. You need someone to direct you where to find the stuff that we need. So in actual sense, each and every one of us is dependent on each other. We are the collective, and our mission is to dismantle broken systems, is to bring things into alignment and shape cultures. A lot of us think that it is almost impossible to change culture, to bring things into alignment, to dismantle broken systems. I tend to differ. I strongly believe that changing the world can happen anytime, anywhere. I strongly believe that each one of us have been given a capacity to do that. The history is full of people who came from nothing to become influential. I'll give an example. Sometimes we think that doing a less insignificant work means that you are not very important. When God spoke to Moses, Moses was just a shepherd. It means that he was looking after cows. And at that particular time, it was even worse because his father-in-law had hired him to look after his cows. At one stage, Gideon called himself a coward. And when God wanted to assign him to do a specific task, he argued with God for quite a long time to say, I'm not able to do that. And the same applies to Jeremiah. These are the people that changed the world. These are the people that made sure that we are where we are today, right now. As we are moving towards becoming the greatest leaders, which will shape the culture, I have 7 principles that I learned from a mango tree, which happens in a small village of Haraphahlelo. Although these principles are coming from a mere tree and from a small village, I believe that it doesn't matter where you are coming from. It doesn't matter of your race. It doesn't matter of your qualification. It doesn't matter whether you are a gender. It doesn't matter of your religious background. It doesn't matter of anything. The principles that are here are applying to everyone. Before I continue, how many of you have ever seen a mango tree? Okay. Josette and Hillary haven't seen it. The thing is, our struggles in this world are the same. And the principles that we need to apply to overcome those will equally apply to all. While growing up in the village, I noticed that a mango tree can only produce mango fruit. It sounds very basic, but the tree doesn't try to produce avocados. It doesn't try to produce oranges. It doesn't try to produce apples. And what we do is we recognize the mango trees because it produces mangoes. Just like the mango tree that produces only mango fruits, I believe that we were not created to do everything. And that is the reason why one might be good at something and the other one might not be good at it. When God created us, He started by creating an environment where it will be perfect for us to fulfill whatever assignment that He wanted to give to us. So, in creation, the first part that happens is the environment. Before God created fish, He started by creating water, which basically means that without water, it's impossible for a fish to become alive. The same applies with us. A mango seed produces a mango tree. It's pretty much simple. The tree would produce a fruit, which is pretty much simple. The most difficult part is the mango fruit will supply the body with nutrients. That's okay. That's why we like mango. But over and above that, something that we don't usually look into is that the leaves of that mango tree, a lot of people might think that they are useless. They provide us with oxygen. Without leaves, there is no oxygen. Without oxygen, there is death to humankind. The same applies to nutrients. Without the nutrients that the mango supplies, we will be deficient of specific nutrients that are specifically coming from mango. We might try to supplement them, but at the end of the day, we will be short of those things. In the same way that the mango produces all those things, God has given each one of us a specific ability, a specific talent that we need to use to influence the situation around us, to influence the environment that we live in. In 1 Peter 4, verse 10, God says to us that we have a responsibility of good steward of those gifts that He has provided for us. In fact, He tells us that we must use those specific gifts for the benefit of others, not ourselves. The key to living a fulfilled life is using our gifts to serve God, and we can only serve God by serving others. When we don't serve our gifts, the same way that when we don't have leaves, somewhere along the way, someone will run short of oxygen. When we don't serve our gifts, the area where we need to serve the gifts, we starve that area. The world does not become a better place as God intended to be. We create imbalances in the system. The truth is, we can only serve what we have. If you go into a shop, you are looking for something, they cannot serve you what they don't have. So they can only serve what they have. And the same applies with us. Before we can lead, we need to know the type of fruits that we are carrying. We need to understand what this world needs from us. And what God needs from me will be different from what He needs from Sean. It will be different from each one of us because He uniquely created each one of us to be able to fulfill a specific mission, which only the individual can be able to do that. God wants us to accomplish and put all our focus on what He created us for. And sometimes we are not able to see it. Although it might be easier to see from the mango tree, if we are to become the greatest leaders, we need to find the area of our gifting. And our gifting, it's an area where God wants us to influence. And when we find that area of our gifting, we need to focus on serving it to the world. That way we will bring life to the world that we live in. That's the first and foremost principle. Now, growing up in the village, again, simple stuff. I noticed that the mango trees doesn't require a lot of effort. The process of growing a mango tree is simple. You just eat a mango. When you've done with the mango, there is a part that is big, that is too hard. We call it a seed. That seed, if you just throw it in a soil that has got a lot of moisture on it, giving the right conditions, if the soil is much more fertile, it will just germinate itself. It will become a tree. However, what I've noticed is that the trees that came through the process of when someone threw away that seed and when someone planted the seed were behaving completely different. I noticed that where the tree was watered properly, where it was cultivated, where it was fertilized, the mango trees that were harvested there were much more better than where no one took care of it. It became strange for me, but one thing that I can conclude from that experience was that the process of fertilizing the soil, of caring for that tree, was the magic trick. In the same way applies with our lives as well. The type of books that we read, what we do with our time, who we spend our time with, plays a major role in terms of determining the quality of the life that we live. The environment that we habitually create each and every day will determine the quality of the life that we will live in the future. So a lot of times we might do things that we are not aware of, but consequently they will bring us where we do not want to be. It's simple. If we want to live a life that is focused, we need to make intentional decisions each and every day. The same way that you want your mango tree to produce good mangoes, we have to put in an effort. If we are to become the shapers of culture, we must serve the best by fertilizing our gifts and talents with the right things and create an environment that facilitates growth. It's just pretty much simple. We need to fertilize our talents and gifts by asking the one who made us, what is it that we need to do? We need to fertilize it by making sure that we use it in the right way. And doing the right things starts with understanding why you are here. If you don't fertilize the soil, you will not get quality mangoes. And my question to each one of us is, what are we doing to refine, to polish, to strengthen what God has given us? There is so much hunger in this world. The world needs each one of us. I'll move to the next one. The process of germinating the seed as well, it's simple. All that is required is to place the seed into the well-drained soil, as I said before. And this process will take approximately 5 weeks. And then after the 5 weeks, the mango seedling will already be out. Please note that in order for the mango to become a tree, it does not need to be placed in a room temperature. If you put it in the fridge, nothing will happen. If you put it in a nice, properly tight seal container, nothing will happen. The magic happens when the seed gets thrown into the ground. And a lot of us, we don't want to find ourselves in that situation. And this is where the magic happens. Across all other processes, in order for the seed to change and become a tree, it needs to go on the floor. And we are talking about pressure. When the seed is on the floor, a lot of pressure gets applied on it. It gets dirty. It gets frustrated. It gets into the dark. And the same thing applies with us. Usually when we get confronted with being underground, we tend to ask God to remove us from that, and we get to miss the process. Each and every day, we find an opportunity where we should be in the ground so that we can become better. And the same applies with the seed as well. It understands the process. It doesn't request the farmer to remove it from the ground, because if he does that, nothing will happen. So each and every day, we need to understand that in order for us to develop, we need fertilizers to grow. We need that. That way, we can only fulfill our potential. So this brings me to the next principle, is that if we are to dismantle broken systems, it is not going to be easy. In fact, Paul knew this very well when he said that we are not fighting human flesh, we are fighting principles. We are fighting things that have been said before us. And if we are to dismantle those broken systems, we need to understand that we must persevere under pressure. We must look far beyond the pressure. We must look far beyond the debt. We must look far beyond frustrations. We must look far beyond discrimination, beyond failures, beyond disappointments. The truth is, it is through those moments that you develop character. We need that pressure to grow. James 1 verse 2 says that during those times when we go through under pressure, it is the most important part of our lives. We need to be joyful because we are getting tested for endurance. And anything that is of quality, it will be tested for quality through pressure. So anything that has ever been created, it goes through the process where it gets tested if it is original or not. And the only way to check if something is original is by testing it. And the same applies with us as well. In the workplace, some of you might be going through a point where you are being discriminated. You can be discriminated by gender, by race, by religion, by whatever. It is a good place for you to start because God wants you there so that you can grow and develop. And most importantly, He wants you to understand that there are certain people that need to learn from you. So consider it as an opportunity, the same way that it's an opportunity for a seed to become a tree. It's an opportunity for you to become better than you are. I'm going to the fourth principle. A mango fruit that is fully ripened turns yellow in color. I'm not sure if you know, I see most green mangoes nowadays. The mango will naturally drop from the tree to the ground if it has not been harvested in time. While it is on the ground, the fruit can be served or eaten by any species. It can be eaten by human beings, it can be eaten by other animals, or if it's not eaten, it can just basically get decomposed. I'm told that the color yellow is not just a magic. It's a color that is associated with hope. It's associated with happiness. It's associated with new beginning. At that time when the mango is turned yellow, it basically means that there is more good things to come. It basically means that the next person can benefit from that mango. And the principle here is that if we are to lead by serving, we must serve those around us without expecting something in return. And this process comes from the mango. The mango gets ripened, it falls on the ground. It doesn't expect anything, so anyone can actually pick and benefit from it. We need to get our talents and gifts to be exposed. We need to give it away. We need to volunteer serve it somewhere. It can be at church, it can be at workplace, it can be at home, it can be anywhere. And to be honest, I've quite seen a lot of people that have mastered this principle. And what this principle has done for them has done quite a lot of wonders in terms of their talents and gifts. This principle is the most popular one. Even the drug dealers use it. What they basically do is, the first one, they give it for free. I've also seen this principle being applied quite a lot in my life. I've known a teacher who had volunteered to provide kids, basically matric learners with extra lessons. He had done that process for over 15 years, and I was one of his product. And at the moment, he has perfected it so well in such a way that he is now good at it that every year he guaranteed of 80% pass rate. The process here is you need to give your gift time to develop while you are saving it for free. You need to follow the process. So you can never be good at something if you don't serve. When you serve, you refine it, you become better at it. You cannot plant a mango seed today and expect to get fruits next week. In my village, the mango trees takes up to 5 years before it can bear fruits. So that is part of the process. Growing up there, I've noted that the mangoes comes in different colors, sizes, shapes, and flavors, and they ripen slightly at different times. So in my yard, I also have my own story. I had my favorite mango tree. This tree was very strange. I couldn't compare it with most of the trees. In fact, when it was still at seedling stage, I observed that it was slightly different. So I strategically planted it next to where I can see it. It was strange because it was not growing as fast as most of the trees. The tree only has got 7 branches. Year in, out, it produces less than 30 mangoes. It's my favorite tree. I've started taking care of it from a very early stage, so it's very special to me. But this tree produces the best mango that I've ever tasted in my life. I can bet with that there is no mango fruit that is the same as that one. Unlike most other mangoes in my area, this mango fruit usually ripen between January and February. Other mangoes ripen between December and January. So over the last 14 years, every January I go home so that I can go and get the mangoes from that tree. Some of you might not necessarily know this is the truth. I stay over 450 kilometers from here. So around that period in January, if you're planning an event around that time, just know that I need to go and get my mangoes. This mango fruit has made itself so valuable to me that at that particular time, I have to drive home just to get it. Everyone in the family knows. I count them, I make sure that I get those mangoes. And what I've learned in that process is that the mango tree does not take mangoes to the people. The people go to the tree to get the mangoes. And the same thing applies with us. People are attracted to us based on the value that we add in their lives. And a lot of times is we try so much to fit in by just doing certain things that are not necessary. So in simple means, and the principle here, it's simple. If we want to change the way things are done in this world, if we want to shape the culture. We should not seek to be successful. We must seek to add value in our lives so that success can be attracted to us. We must make ourselves so valuable that our talents, our abilities, our gifts can no longer be ignored. Everywhere where we are, we need to make it to the point that we are being recognized for knowing something that can change or make a difference. I don't want to encourage those that are looking for jobs. I want to say to them that it would be better to make yourself more valuable. That way, people will be headhunting you, and this will be the fulfillment of the first commandment that was given to men, which was to reign, which means that you will be a leader in your area. It means that you will be faithful, it means that you will be fruitful, and then it means that you can multiply. I have seen this principle by ordinary people like us. The teacher that taught extra lessons for 15 years, I'm told that he's now so valuable in such a way that everyone wants him to teach in their school. But over and above that, he is giving extra lesson. He's now doing it for a charge. So he's charging 200 per lesson, per student. On average, his class contains 60 learners. I'm also told that he is doing the extra lessons for the postgraduates that are doing statistics at a charge of 300. I'm told that normally, just around exams, his classes can be up to 200 people. And this is the truth. I've seen it here at Grace Place as well. Someone spoke to me last week, and I think that I did not tell him that I was going to say it. Carl, can you just raise your hand there? This is also a testimony of the principle that when you serve for so long with what you have, you can actually become valuable in such a way that people are coming to you to seek certain things. He has won a prestigious award, and I believe that is being harassed by certain organizations trying to poach him. Can we clap him hands, please? We are going to principle number 6. Growing mango trees from the seed is quite easy. Every fruit has a seed in it. Each seed contains a future tree. The seed contains more than one plant, so a mango seed can produce 3 or 5 plants. And the truth is that that plant will be identical to the parent tree, so they become like clones. In the same way, our gifts must always produce seeds. It must always produce more fruits. As leaders who follow Christ, we must always be on the lookout for investment opportunities. I'm not talking about money. I'm talking about far more investment that we can do. I'm talking about investment for eternity. We must look for opportunities to empower, to mentor, to help, to encourage those who are around us. We must look for opportunities to get more people to the kingdom of God. In the same way that the fruit does that, if we are to dismantle broken systems and shape cultures in a sustainable way, we must secure the next generation of leaders. And this principle is being applied everywhere, and it's failing most of the people. Jesus was the role model of how leadership should be. He consistently called his disciples friends. He commended them for doing good work. He gave them faith and trusted them by giving more responsibilities. He basically increased their confidence, and he empowered them to believe that they can take on the world. When he ascended to heaven in the book of Acts, we realize that they did take on the world. They influenced and changed the world for the better. As leaders, our task is not merely to collect a group of followers. Our main difficult task is to raise the next generation of leaders. So everywhere where we are going, we need to seek that opportunity to invest and serve the next leaders. A mango tree does not eat its own fruits. I'm not sure if the ones that doesn't know. Hey, Larry. The fruits are usually eaten by people, they can be eaten by animals. So if none of those is the mango, it gets decomposed. The fruit tree doesn't know or even care on who gets to pick the fruit. Year in, year out, the mango tree produces fruits, irrespective of whether it was given credit or whether it was praised or not. Unlike the world systems that focus on us getting recognition, on us getting gratification, the mango tree is not driven by the need to receive credit or to receive recognition or attention. And this proves that there is no limit to the amount of good one can do if you don't care who gets the credit. A lot of times we focus on who gets the credit rather than focusing at the task at hand. You can just imagine what the world will be like if everyone else did not focus on who gets the credit. They just did what they need to do. Nowadays, someone sees something, they start by taking a picture, then they say, I helped this guy. We need to change around this. In fact, Colossians 3 verse 23 says that whatever we do, we must do it with all our heart, because we are not doing it for other people, we are doing it to please God. When we understand this important truth, it frees us from seeking praise from other people. It ensures that we don't get demotivated when the next person doesn't see what you've done. After all, we are not necessarily working for them anyway. We are working for our God. And this leads us to the last principle, is that if we are to become leaders who dismantle broken systems, leaders who shape cultures, who lead by serving, our egos should not matter anymore. We should put others first before ourselves. That way we will not care who gets the credit, because we are doing it for God. All of us are leaders. No matter where our leadership arena might be. You can be leading yourself, you can be leading a business, you can be leading a team, you can be a leader in church, in your household. All that we are doing is just serving Jesus Christ. In Matthew 23 verse 11, Jesus said that the greatest amongst us will be one of the servant. It means that they understand the principle that we have to serve. In conclusion, God's call us to serve is far beyond everything we can ever imagine. Each one of us were put on earth to make a difference. We are put here on earth to make a contribution. We were not just created to consume resources like eat, breathe, kill animals, take up space. We were created to add life on earth. In fact, in Ephesians 2, verse 10, the Bible says that God has created us for a life of good deeds, which He has already prepared for us to do before we were born. These good deeds are just your service to the world, because we need to make sure that we leave the world in a much better state than we found it, or at least the same way as we found it. Whenever we serve others in any way, we are serving God. What God told Prophet Jeremiah is also true to us. He told Jeremiah that before Jeremiah was born, He chose him. Before he was born, He set him apart for a special work. God has special work for each and every one of us. In the Bible, the word servant, service, and serve appears over 1,100 times. It appears more than the word prayer. It appears more than the word love. It appears more than the word faith. In fact, uvision.com argued that 1,100 times represent 3 meals a day in 365 days a year. It basically means that it's breakfast, lunch, supper. It means that it is the most important thing that we are ought to do. If you don't eat breakfast, you will starve somewhere during the day. If you don't eat supper, something will happen in your stomach, and the same applies with us. A mango seed produces a tree. A tree produces a fruit. Fruits provide nutrients to the body, and leaves of that mango produces oxygen. Human body cannot survive without oxygen and nutrients. When we don't serve, we starve the world. Each one of us have a seed of greatness. We are destined to leave a good mark. We were not just created to fit into the system, but to reign. We were created to lead. And once again, we were set apart for a special work. As the servants of God, we know that we are not perfect, and we don't try to be perfect. We are consistently work in progress. And as we pursue our goal as collective to dismantle broken system, to shape culture and bring things to alignment that would be aligned with the kingdom of God, we can accelerate this process by doing the following. Number one, by asking God to reveal to us what this world needs from us. What does He want us to accomplish? And once we've identified that, we need to put focus on doing that. Number two, we must fertilize our gifts and talents and abilities that God has given us and create environment that accelerates our growth. Reading a Bible, it's a good start. Praying, it's a good start. And meditating will make a difference. We need to persevere when we are under pressure, because it is through that process that we can see the fulfillment of what God wants us to accomplish. Number four, we need to serve our gifts to free the world from the kingdom of darkness. There is so much chaos in the world. It needs us and every one of us to rise up and find an area that we can serve. We need to make ourselves so valuable that this world can no longer ignore us, but they need to come to us to seek for solutions. We need to secure the next generation of leaders by teaching them the truth and empowering them to understand why they are here on earth. If we are to become true servants, we need to put ourselves before, we need to put others before ourselves. That way, we will put our egos behind. Just like a tree that produces a fruit-bearing tree, we were all handpicked by God for a special work, and that work is to make a contribution in His kingdom. What has started here will indeed dismantle broken systems. It will shape the culture, and it will bring things to alignment, and all the honor and glory will belong to God. Thank you.